Well, here, take mine.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and if we could stand and let Ms. Crawford lead us in the Pledge of
I
Allegiance.
guess I could go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Would Mr. Eddie speak? Okay, come on up.
Let us pray. Father, I just thank you for today. I thank you for these leaders you have in this room, God, as they are pouring into this generation. And Father, I just pray as we go through the business today that you would direct all of this to better this community, to better the schools, to better the students, to better the faculty and staff of our community here, God. And Father, I just pray right now over each and everyone in this room and their families. I invoke your blessing over their life. Father, I pray that today that you would lead, God, and direct us in all communications, that you would lead, God, and direct this county as we are moving forward and pouring into the next generation. And God, we thank you that we can gather here today, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. If you would, please turn off all your cell phones, but I'm fixing to do that right now. And if you want to make a public comment or any comments, please fill out a card and give it to Ms. Douglas over here, and she'll get it to us, so, for public speaking. So first on the agenda, we have a presentation by Ms. Sandra Fortner, President of First Coast Technical College, to speak to the board regarding the Memorandum of Understanding between First Coast Technical College and the district. Always a pleasure to have you.
Good afternoon. Sandy Fortner, First Coast Technical College. I came today to address the board, and particularly regarding the memo of understanding that was before the board recently regarding 4 classrooms at the old Mosley Elementary School. And to back up and give just a little bit of history, First Coast Technical College has been in existence 50 years last year. We were created by the legislature in 1963 as a Tri-County Vocational Center and to serve Putnam, Clay, and St. Johns counties. And back in late 2013, Superintendent Criswell contacted me about a partnership to assist essentially the high school students, obviously, in Putnam County. And honestly, her proposal wasn't ideal for First Coast. It's an old school with little itty-bitty toilets and all the stuff that goes with an old elementary school. And we brainstormed it and thought about it, and we were looking for a new site. And in the spring of 2014, we readdressed it, and although not ideal, we discussed it some more. We workshopped it with the First Coast Technical College Board and decided that is what we would move forward and do. And went forward with a lease agreement, and it was a 20-year lease agreement for $1 a year. And we approached it with, it was really the best for the taxpayers of Putnam County because it was not taking a piece of property off the tax rolls of Putnam County. And we were looking at sites that were along major corridors on the major highways, and essentially because we are a charter school, it would have taken a piece of property off the tax rolls if we would have pursued other locations. So that's where we are today. So we entered into that lease agreement. It was workshopped by our board in the summer of 2014, and it came before this board, I think, late 14, January 15, and it was adopted by this board. And it went to Tallahassee, and we asked for special appropriations. The capital funding that we receive, because we are sponsored by St. Johns County, cannot be spent in Putnam County. So we had to get a special appropriation to improve those properties, the property at Mosley Elementary School. So we come up with conceptualized drawings, and we're very excited about what the future holds. But what happened was we went to the legislature and asked for $2.5 million is what we think it will take to improve those properties. And when it comes to vocational training, you don't have a typical classroom like you're sitting in here. You have, for instance, an LPN classroom. You have a classroom that has your desks and your typical technology, but then you have hospital beds, and you have hand wash stations, and you have phlebotomy stations, and you have EKG stations, and you have all these other things that go into play. So, for instance, at Mosley, we have a wing that has 4 classrooms. Those 4 classrooms will become one vocational classroom. So we will have openings in those walls where that instructor will be able to have all of those students all on task in hands-on activities at one time. So it was essential that we be able to get this funding to be able to renovate those classrooms. So after that lease agreement was signed, I went to Tallahassee with our proposal, with our site plans, with what we were moving. We currently occupy 10,000 square feet here in Putnam County out on Comfort Road. What Mosley Elementary offers us is 12,000 square feet. So it's not significantly more, well, it's almost 13,000 square feet. It's not significantly more. And that's one of the reasons it wasn't quite ideal, because it didn't give us the growth that we were looking for. But again, we figured out a way to make this work. So here in Putnam County, we have cosmetology, LPN, and adult basic education at the location we're moving from. We knew with the space that we were going to gain, we were going to add a culinary arts program and additionally a construction technology program, which we think will be a key program here in this county. So essentially what happened, we only ended up with $600,000 this first time around. And that's okay. They told us that we would, they gave us an indication that we would be able to go back for a year 2 and a year 3 ask. So essentially when we reached out then, after we know what happened with the legislature and the budget process, it was a little late in the year when we all knew what our budgets would be for this year. We then reached out to this district and said, okay, we're ready to move in, give us our keys. And like every district out there and every school out there, they had spacing issues and said, we can't move, we don't have anywhere to put these people. And so it was almost like we rented a 4-bedroom home and we're only going to get 1 bedroom to use. And it put us in a bind. So what the MOU was all about essentially was we had to go back to Tallahassee and say, we know we presented this entire plan to you, and we said this is what we needed this money for. Now we're saying, wait a minute, we're not renovating this whole campus. There is a wing we are not renovating because the school district still needs it. Our pot of money we are getting the money for is not designated K through 12 money. It is post-secondary money. It cannot be used on K through 12. So my concern was, and it was a concern that was shared with our lobbyist and the district's lobbyist, was that if I'm not here, because it's a 20-year lease, if I'm not here even a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, the superintendent's not here, maybe this board isn't here, that no one would be here to remember exactly why that wing was not renovated or why that funding source was asked for, and we wanted to make sure it was clearly indicated to them why that pot of money was not used. That's what the MOU was about. And I know after I went back and watched the video, there was a lot of question, what is this MOU for? What does it have to do with Tallahassee? What does it have to do with the $1 million? That's exactly what it had to do with. I was not willing to go forward with that $1 million ask for this year without that MOU in my hand, clearly identifying why we were not improving those 4 classrooms, why we were not renovating it, because the year before, I had went forward with a full plan of renovating the entire campus. So, that being said, when that space is vacated, our intention is if we do get the 3-year ask that we hope we will have, we will add that final program, renovate that space that they are vacating. And, you know, the point is, I think the reason I wanted to come today was to clear up those issues. And in order to make this work for the students of Putnam County, for First Coast Technical College, we've got to have collaboration. It's not going to work if every time we have an ask or you guys have an ask and have a need, that there is just strife. You know, that we don't feel like we can ask or you can ask or that we can get clarification. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're all here for the good. You know, I am a product of Palatka High School. I live in Putnam County, and this needs to work, not just for First Coast Technical College, it needs to work for Putnam County School District. And, honestly, I was very disheartened when I watched the video of that board meeting. And I just really want to make sure that the issues are clarified, that we're all on the same page. It's not about $300 a month. It's about, we have no K through 12 money. We can't spend money to improve a building that you're going to occupy. And if it is misuse of our funding source.
That makes sense.
Well, Sandy, I appreciate that. We've been working very hard, and we feel like we've got the $1 million ready to go this year. I was under the impression we had worked out those details on that last little bit, but, the intention is to vacate it as soon as we can. And is that turning into a problem right on?
No, I met today with Jim Roach and Scott Gatchell, and they, we still have some keying issues. We're going to have to rekey the whole campus because they have found out some of the doors that we can't get open is because it's the master key to all the buildings in the district.
Right.
And I get it. I do understand. So we are going to have to rekey the whole campus. There are spacing issues, and I do understand that. The other spaces in D that are not part of the MOU, they have agreed they'll vacate by the end of this school year, which we won't be able to get to those and renovate those until that point in time anyways.
Well, this is one of there's so much gravity in what we're trying to do and to secure the First Coast Technical College at that site that impacts our students. And it will be in a neighborhood where children in one of our lowest performing schools, really Mellon and Mosley, young parents are there, and they could get high-skill, high-wage jobs, being trained at your facility. And then we've talked about the goal then would be to secure funding to bring more of our students into the process if possible. So, that's the big hope down the road. But I don't think, and I think Charlie can answer this, the actions of a prior board cannot bind the actions of a future board. But if we give you a 20-year lease, I don't see it being something that we could, or another board would be able to lift very easily.
Well, I can tell you, and Phyllis and I had these discussions, the proposal was a 5-year lease. And I said, no, we were not willing to discuss that, and not to throw blame on anybody else, but when we were a thriving school in East Palatka, the old Browning Pierce, the then superintendent needed space.
That was me.
I wasn't going to say that.
But that's okay. We've covered that before.
Needed space, and, we needed to relinquish that space. We had a thriving culinary arts program, a diesel program, a heating and air conditioning program, and we were never able to reestablish that. And so that was key when we discussed 5 years. We weren't interested. Because we knew we would face that same issue again. And that's why we were not interested in discussing 5 years.
Right. Well,
and doing this, and I'm the one that contacted Sandy because I was very concerned about our students at our high schools that don't have enough options in career tech, which is what the Department of Education calls it now. We used to call it vocational. I'm old, I still call it vocational. We don't have enough offerings for our students, and the state doesn't provide us with money to add to what we currently have. Our best option is a partnership with First Coast Technical. St. Johns County has a lot more money than we do, but they partner with them, and they gave them a building as well. So I felt like if they could do it, we should do it. Our students need it even more, and it'll give us some options down the road for our students that meet their criteria. And then what we will do, Rodney, wherever you are, we'll be busing our students in for their classes during the day and then taking them back to their high schools. That way, they will want to participate. Right now, if we had a student at one of our high schools that does not have culinary arts, that wanted culinary arts really badly, we would let them transfer and go to another high school. The thing is, the kids don't want to do that. And I don't blame them. Their high school is their high school. They worked a long time to get there, and they don't want to leave it. So here's an opportunity for us to give them the classes and something they're interested that they could have an actual career in and still keep them at their same high school and not cost the district any additional dollars other than some busing back and forth. And it's a dream. It's closer to coming true than it ever has been. There were 4 classrooms on the very last wing that we were having trouble determining where we were going to place the things in those 4 classrooms that we had been using. And so until we find a suitable location, so they were willing to do an MOU with us so that we could keep those 4 classrooms through this year and up to, I don't know, I can't remember. The MOU said 5 years, I think, and certainly we plan to be out before that. So that's something that we're working on right now and hope to have taken care of rather quickly, but they can still work on the other 3 wings and the office space and the cafeteria and kitchen while we take care of this final wing, and then they could actually do the work on the last wing. So we do have the $600,000. Rhonda knows where it is. It's not given, the money didn't come to us. She can draw it down. So as they move forward with what they need, Rhonda can draw that money down. So we're really excited about that because it means a future for our children, and even, as Mr. Buckle said, some of the parents. Hopefully a lot of the parents. So this is a win-win for the community and the school district. And hopefully future boards will see it as that because it'll be up and running and it'll be successful. So I don't see any other way to bring to our high school students what they need. And I don't see in the future that it's going to get any better. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, Madam Secretary, I don't, maybe I'm not hearing things right, but I'm not sure any of that was really the issue. I think we all understand the value of this. The issue is, we got started saying we were going to give them 4 rooms. We were going to give them an area. Now we can't because we need the space. So I guess my concern is the prior planning on that when we started that process and what has changed that we can't move ahead with that. Now I get you got decreased funding, but you got decreased funding, as I understand it, because of availability of space. And the legislature's saying you've got a 3-year, they want to do a 3-year payout on this, right?
Not exactly, but it's,
It's a 3-year, it's a 3-phase plan.
Right.
But we went back to them, the plan I had laid out to them was for adding essentially 3 new programs to what our current offerings are.
Right. In our facility,
Correct.
okay?
And we will not be adding one of those final programs until we have all the space.
Okay, so, all right, so part of the problem is we are holding back space for our needs.
Mr. Wright, we're not holding it back. Let me explain just 2 of those 4 classrooms real briefly so you'll understand. Helen Muir and Renee Huff worked very hard to get with Dignity You Wear. It's a national organization that provides brand new clothing.
I remember that, right?
We selected one of the classrooms in that 4th wing for that. And they have to approve it. There's a whole process you have
Okay,
to go through.
let me ask a question on that. I remember that,
Before
but
we
was-
move them,
Okay,
we have to get their approval. And we don't have their approval yet to move them, and they're going to tell us that they want it in a suitable place.
Okay.
The other thing is that monster of a copy machine that was bought by the previous administration, a big $50,000 machine that
a big
we
one.
we don't use a lot, but if you move it, it destroys it.
I understand.
So we've got to determine what we're going to do about that, how we're going to handle that. Can we find somebody that actually could move it so it's still usable? There are issues like that that are just not easy that we're working on as best we can at this moment.
I understand that, and that's fine, but I guess my question is, because we've sort of gotten halfway down the road and now we're having to stop. So my question is, was it a prior planning consideration? Did we know about the Dignity program after First Coast Tech or before First Coast Tech?
We knew we were getting it. We didn't know that they were as particular as they are about the placement.
All right?
And because we're getting free clothes for
I'm
children.
not doubting the
we-
value of
you
the
know,
program. Not doubting the value of the program. This is not about the value of the program. And then second, the big copier is there. So were we aware or not aware of the moving problems with that? It is a big deal. I know that. I've seen it. It's a big thing. So I'm with that. I guess my only problem is, it's just seems to be that we got down the road on this, and maybe we didn't look at some things before we pulled the trigger, and that's unfortunate because now the ripple effect is pretty big. I'm not saying anything you said.
We didn't realize there would be an effect like this. We didn't realize that Tallahassee would have this attitude. We
Right.
thought they'd work with us.
Well,
We're moving forward. We're going to figure it out. The bottom line is it's about the kids. Our focus is on our students, and
Right.
that's what we're going to
right.
do.
And there's no doubt about that.
When we're not gonna.
And I was for this from the very beginning.
Yes.
Been for it all along. Think it's a great plan.
I've talked with Sandy, and I assure you that we will get with the administration and we will find some place to put those when that happens, and that needs to be. Ms. Fortner has bent over backwards to really work with us on this, and it is a wonderful opportunity for this community that we'll
You better
probably
believe
never
it's
get a
it's
chance
it's the
to get
it's one of the
into.
best things we've done since, I mean, really, that we've looked at. So, Sandy, you're disheartened a little bit because motivation matters. So talk to me about
I'm
that.
going to be honest with you. I'm not disheartened in the space issues because we have one empty building on our huge campus in St. Augustine. I totally understand that.
Right.
I was disheartened, honestly, at the attitude of the board when I watched the video about a $300 a month MOU. Bottom line.
I was sat through that board meeting, I believe, and I was disheartened at the language that I heard that day too. And I
But-
won't pull out
I don't
anybody's
think.
name.
But
and I
it-
would just
but it-
caution you not to use the whole board.
No. But what it told me was there was a lack of communication between FCTC and the board
And understanding.
and the superintendent possibly, and that obviously I needed to get more involved and to come. I am fine with the 4 classrooms, and I believe it's 2017. You might want to look at that space issue so you're ready for that date when it comes.
We're planning to do it before then anyway, but.
Okay, so I am fine with the timing issue.
Right.
And we've actually kind of thought of some alternatives. So I just want to make sure from here forward that we are collaborating, that we're doing what is best for all of us, but more particularly for the students that we're going to serve, both adult and high schools, because it has to work for everyone. And we've already talked about doing a showcase for the 8th graders to make sure they understand what it means to them as high schoolers, that they truly can. We've had some talks with some employers about, making sure they understand that they stress to these high school students. We even though you don't have to have a 4-year degree, you do have to have a high school diploma to get a job here.
Mm-hmm.
So doing some showcases and things like that on this campus. And, we need these employers to understand that we don't have funding to do any K through 12 stuff, and they're on board. So we're fine. We just want to make sure we move forward from here on out with just collaboration.
Would a consensus of the board be fine, because we don't really, this isn't something we vote on, but as far as I am, I'm fully committed to that, and I would guess all the board members are as well, to trying to.
It's brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely what our
We
community
tried to
needs.
prorate. She shouldn't have to pay for electricity in rooms that she's not using.
Well, and part of
that-
the
that's
payment agreement.
all we were trying to do with those 4 rooms until we can vacate them. We were just trying to be fair.
Right. And Madam Superintendent, when we first started this process, I think we all, or many of us, were in agreement that the value our students are going to receive out of this was well worth whatever power bill or whatever we were going to.
And Sandy, I want to
incur.
apologize
So,
for misunderstanding or
Yeah,
hard feelings or.
There's no hard feelings, and it's not about the money. And I'll be honest with you, when I left here the last time, I passed one of your maintenance guys, and he said, there's some trees hanging down. Do you mind if I trim them? No, please. And it is about collaboration. And I can tell you what, next week you'll see moving vans. We're moving next week. We will be on campus next week holding classes.
Can't wait.
The DOE is, the Council of Occupational Education is the DOE's accreditation branch for vocational education. They will be there accrediting us on February 29th and March the 1st. We're moving forward, and this is going to happen, and we just want to make sure, I don't need anything from you all, I just need you to know that I'm available and that, we need this to work, and we want this to work, and, we've been in Putnam County since the 80s. you know, just moving forward, we just want this to work in the spirit of what's best for these students.
And I don't want
it
you
needs to
guys
work.
nickel and dime to death over crazy stuff, and I don't know who would buy a copy machine you can't move, but I think they need to haul it to the landfill and get rid of it if you can't move the daggum thing. That's the craziest thing I ever heard of. But anyway, Sandy, we're gonna continue to work with you. I know we've been in, Terry and I were in Tallahassee last week, and we met on this issue of the funding. You know, it's obviously,
cold last
you had
week.
some concerns on it being in the House, but it's, you know, I think we've worked that out, so that's coming. So we look, you know, you hear people say we don't do stuff, but you guys are up there working, and we're up there working with you, and we're gonna get this done.
Yeah, it was I was in Tallahassee all last week. It was a very positive week, and, you know, we have worked with several organizations up there who said, let us know what you need. We're willing to help.
Well, and
And,
you,
know,
as a chairman, you know, or any of these board members, you let us know what you need from us as well.
absolutely.
Okey-doke.
Okay.
Hey,
And I'm sorry, I definitely was misunderstood on this, and I apologize for any misunderstanding now that I understand the whole process. I guess I just didn't realize the fact that the space was needed. I thought you could move forward and then we could move and then it would be, but yeah, I'm glad you came in.
No, I wanted, it really is just, if I'm not here a year from now, I don't want the perception to be that I went after money to improve K through 12 buildings.
Yeah, I understand,
You know,
absolutely.
so-
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
hey, good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Okey-doke. Next on the list is the public hearing. Number one is an adoption of new policy, number 5517.02.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
sir.
move we adopt new policy.
I have a motion from Terry Wright,
I second that.
a second from Ms. Crawford. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Okay, I didn't hear you guys say anything. All right, number two.
Mr. Chairman, on number
you have
two,
some
I just wanted you to make note that at 5611 and 8500 were reviewed recently and revisions were made. That's why those are included there, okay?
All right, 5611 is included, and what was the other one?
8,500.
100, it's in the last line.
8,500, so I'm gonna
Those
read
were
all
revisions.
these off, so
I had a question about 5611, so would I need to pull that, Sharon?
you'd
off
have to
the-
pull it, because I'm gonna read this whole
All
thing.
together?
Well, you can pull it to begin with, I guess, you could. Go ahead. and pull
Yeah,
it.
5611.
Let's go.
Okay. On 5611, it was just the due process rights of the students, and it addresses suspension and expulsion. And the second paragraph in B, student subject to expulsion, that says the student and/or his or her parent or guardian shall also be provided a brief description. And I just didn't know why it wouldn't just say the student and the parent, because the other subsections all have and.
Students 18 or over 18, they don't have to have parent consent. They can check themselves in and out of school.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
All
why
right.
it's worded that way. We have to.
Okay. Thanks. I knew
Okay,
there'd
so
be.
you're not pulling it anymore, you've got your
No, I'm
question
good with
answered?
it.
Okay, amendment to bylaws, policies 0130, 0124, 014.2, 1122.
I think you said 0114, 0141.
You left the second one off.
Well, I'll start over.
Just
Policy,
with that one.
this one, 0141.2?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, I thought I said it. 1122, 1129, 1210, 1214, 1220, 1362, 2260, 2410, 2421, 2623, 3112, 3129, 3210, 3214, 3220, 3362, 4122, 4129, 4210, 4214, 4362, 5112, 5225, 5320, 5330.01, 5410, 5410.01, 5420, 5517, 5517.01, 5600, 5610, 5610.02, 5610.04, 5611, 5751, 5780, 6322, 8210, 8390, 8450, 8452, 8462, 8500, 8600, and 8710.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move we accept the amendments to
Have a-
bylaws and policies as listed.
I second
I
it.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, amendment to policy 5830, 8540, 8550, 9211, 8531, and 8510.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
move
sir.
we accept the amendment to the policies as listed.
I second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Public comments. Under the public comments today, we have one of my former students that I love so much, Miss Lalita Thomas. Would you like to come up and state your address at the microphone over here?
Yes, Lolita Thomas, 2406 Lee Terrace, Palaca, Florida. I am here just as a concerned parent. First of all, I want to say thank you to Ms. Criswell as well as Mr. Roach. I emailed Ms. Criswell about some information I was in need of or looking for, and I saw that it was on the agenda today to be reviewed and to be voted on. In the meantime, I did take opportunity to review it, and I had a few questions I wanted to bring up as you all look at this and have discussions and vote on it. And it's pertaining to N2 on your agenda for the director, which is the athletic director for Putnam County Schools. I thought the job description that has been put together was very well written. There's a couple of items that I just had questions and needed clarity on, and that's first of all number 18.
I'm sorry, ma'am, it's the job description for Director of Instruction and Curriculum, correct?
Athletic director.
I don't think I
Correct.
have that.
Athletic Director?
It says director.
Might be an instructional director.
It just said director.
And N2 is the item?
It was under,
May I see
We
what
just
you have
didn't,
there?
we just don't have a copy of it.
here, it says director.
Director of Instruction.
It's under personnel.
Right.
Yes,
okay,
it is,
right.
it is N2, it is N2, Director of Instruction and Curriculum, yes,
I was
that is
looking
it,
through my
yes, thank
stuff,
you.
yeah.
Yep,
So I
we-
am speaking on the correct one?
Yep,
Yep,
I'm sorry.
What you're wanting to do is pull that
H-
item from the
H2.
H2, is that what you
H2.
said?
An attachment.
Okay.
The attachment,
oh, I see it.
Okay, Mr.
Debbie, would you come up and clarify this?
Yes, sir. We do have athletic director under our personnel matters, and then we have an emergency item coming to you for the director of instruction curriculum, which is for the PCSD job is the SIG 3 cohort continuous improvement director. But the one I believe that you're referring to is the athletic director, which is under our
Yeah, I
personnel
found it.
matters.
which is under, what's it under, Debbie? I'm sorry.
Personnel matters.
Personnel Matters, okay.
H2.
H2, Personnel Matters, gotcha.
Okay, Lolita,
Athletic
which,
Director, we're getting there, sorry.
Okay.
which number were you speaking to?
I'm speaking to the athletic director, whichever it
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
on
which,
your
oh, I
agenda.
thought you said a particular,
I'm sorry,
I
I
thought you
was
said a
wrong.
particular number.
Got it now.
Reading your agenda was a little confusing. It said director, comma.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I thought you
Alright.
were speaking to a particular number on here.
Okay, I'm speaking to the athletic
I
director
got it.
job
Yes,
description.
I've got that.
Got it, yep, great.
All right. So on number 18, where it says maintain a positive relationship with the parents, keeping them informed of all events and concerns, and mediate disputes between coaches and or parents. I think that's a good item, but however, I would like for it to be worded a little differently, possibly to provide a channel through which the students and the community may express their concerns about athletic programs, where we, not just maintaining that, but how can he do that? How can that be done? So to provide a channel in which and that channel may be the athletic director may hold some type of forum with all of the athletic members or the parents or something. So that was just one, if you all would take a look at that and
Wouldn't
possibly.
add it to that. That would be a procedure that we
Yeah.
would write separate to the job description.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem, but if it can be addressed at some point in that would be great.
And could you repeat that addition, please?
Provide a channel through which students and the community may express their concerns about the athletic programs.
Okay.
All year long.
I've had phone calls today about athletic programs, so that's.
Also, just on number 25, where the athletic director worked with the principal and school bookkeeper and the administration and balance of budgetary funds. I just had a question, and just for clarity, if someone could just help me understand, this may not be the form, and I could come back. How is a budget, how do the athletic director put the budget together, or is that done strictly by the principal of those particular schools, or is that done by the school board? So would the athletic director be charged with putting a budget together that he may then can present to a board or to a principal to try to assist with getting some type of funding to assist with all of these athletic programs? Even though the budget may be self-supporting, but still to have a budget so that we are aware of what is the cost, what it costs us to actually run these different programs.
Rhonda, do you have an answer for that?
We do use school-based budgeting, so if it's budgeted funds, the principal would be in charge of that and how the principal allocates those funds to different departments. If it's internal accounts, then the athletic director would be in charge of the internal accounts that he or she helped to bring about at that school by charging for athletic events and things like that.
And Rhonda, now the understanding is we pay for the coaches, we pay their salaries. Beyond that, the money they raise through ball games, that's the money they take in, and that's the money that they budget. In a good year, football normally, in the
Pays for the
past, has
rest
paid
of
for
them.
all other sports because football is the one that always made the money. Golf doesn't make any money, but you can't not have it for the children. You know what I'm saying? So every sport doesn't make money. Every sport doesn't make a lot of money. And in a year when football doesn't do really well, or for whatever reason doesn't bring in the money they normally do, then your budget is much diminished, and that's when you depend on your parents and the whatever programs that they provide at the schools. Each principal and each athletic director work on this together at the school. The school board does not make those decisions.
Debbie, can I ask you a question as a former high school principal? Is that something you sat down with your athletic director and decided
Yes, ma'am.
what would be done with those internal, the
Yes,
money
ma'am.
that came in
I sat
from
down
the...
with my athletic director and my bookkeeper. We talked about the needs for each sport. We talked about which sports were up for new uniforms. We talked about referee cost. We
Right.
talked about the cost to maintain the fields. We talked about all of those pieces and then determined what money we had, what money we anticipated bringing in, and what money would be there to spend. Then we had to determine whether we were going to need to look for additional revenue, how we needed to move forward.
Okay.
Through your
Thank-
boosters clubs.
Yeah,
or-
fundraisers and...
And now, Rhonda, the principals also have discretionary dollars at their schools that they could allocate for some of those needs if they chose, correct? Okay.
Especially for field maintenance.
Yes. And you have to understand referees or officials are very expensive.
Oh, I already know that.
Huge
Is
cost.
I definitely know that.
Too bad we can't pay for
Is there a
performance, right?
specific concern that you've got on
There-
that?
No, there's no specific concern. I was just wondering, and I'll get more into it. I know this is not the platform for it, and I'll work back with it. But I was just trying to understand that process, because my thing is, if the athletic director come here and say, okay, well, you're going to Tallahassee to try to get funded for something, our athletic departments need work. Our locker rooms are awful. I mean, those things, I mean, I've gone to school there and they have never been upgraded. I mean, if I have a budget and I know what it's going to cost me to get that done, can I not bring it to the school board to say, hey, can you assist me? Is there a grant out there? Do you have a grant writer that can assist me in getting some type of funding to try to help do these improvements?
That would not
I mean,
be-
that may not be here.
Yeah, that would not be uncommon to get a request from a band director or an athletic team before this board. However, as far as going to Tallahassee to get money for a football team or something for athletics, normally you have to have something that ties into the governor's goals and in the state and academic, whether it be a subcommittee of the legislature where you can go apply for money to build a new school.
That's fine, and I mean, I'm beginning to understand this
It's all
entire
different,
process, and I'm quite sure I
All
have
the
more
red tape.
questions. All the red tape, but I'll have more questions, but that's all I was
Okay.
trying to do. But I just thank you for at least moving forward to get a job description
You
for
come
the
back
athletic
more
director.
And I will say, we had a workshop today about internal accounts. I believe this is public record. This is, yeah.
Sure
So
is.
this is actually a perfect, it gives you exactly like Palaca High. It has athletics, boys golf, basketball, girls golf, track.
And how
It
much
gives
they
it-
bring in and how
Yeah.
much is it?
Yeah, it's our report for internal accounts. So I would think that's a great place to start, kind of get a baseline of how much money, and it was very helpful today to
I
have
haven't
that.
seen you in so long. You and those Gilliard girls used to drive me crazy.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you.
No, but-
And she looks like Pam.
Thank you. Does, doesn't she? Oh, boy. That was neat seeing her. Any more public comments?
girls golf did get money, so
Seeing none, we're going to move to the consent agenda.
get it donated every year.
Item number 1, action consent agenda vote. Number 1, action. Does anybody want to pull any items? I thought they'd already done that when she came up with.
No,
I don't have anything to pull at this time.
no, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Got all my questions answered, thank you.
Oh, my
Did I?
goodness.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
move re-
sir.
I move-
Mr. Wright, before you do that, let me just make note that NEFAC pulled M3. They'll bring it back to you at another time. M3 under the
M3.
NEFAC portion of
Okay.
the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the consent agenda minus M3.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Wright to approve the consent agenda minus M3.
Second?
Have a second for Ms. Cummings. Any more discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right. It's not like you, Ms. Crawford. You usually have a lot of questions. I'm kidding. All right, let's see.
Emergency.
We're past that. I'm looking at NEFAC. All right, we have some emergency items, so we're going to go into emergency session. I hereby declare that we are in emergency session, and I have a copy of those right here. We've got miscellaneous salary schedule, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
move we accept miscellaneous salary schedule.
And I second it.
Had a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Number 2, job description, director, instruction, curriculum, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
move we
sir.
accept the job description for Director of Instruction and Curriculum.
Have a motion.
Second?
And a second from Ms. Cummings, a motion from Terry Wright. Any more discussion?
Is this a new position or just
Are we hiring
updated?
for this position?
This is a position that our Region 2 team from Tallahassee has asked. They wrote the job description. Sorry.
They wrote the job description. They came and met with us last week, asked if we would move this forward to look at hopefully being able to post for a position sometime in March to fill this position.
And
It
of
will be
course they're-
paid for through a grant.
Oh.
No cost
Okay.
to the district.
All right, I was just about to be ugly.
No,
Yeah.
no
So
cost to
I
the
was just
district.
about to be ugly and see another one of those unfunded mandates, right?
Yes, sir, this
And
would
who
be-
are these people that it want?
This is Region 2. The DA team, Mr. Wayne Green, came and met with us, shared their thoughts of how they want to do this, how this would have a positive impact on our district and other districts within the state. Looked like a very good thing for us and a win-win for us, and it would be paid for 100% through
Is
their
that
funds.
sustainable, or?
It would only be as long as the grant is there. Once the
which
grant is gone.
It's a one-year grant right now?
No, it is not. This particular grant would only be for a year and a few months, but we would have the opportunity to apply for SIG 4, and this position would be part of SIG 4 if we were to receive
Is
that
that
grant.
perpetuating, or is there a time limit on that?
That one is 5 years from what he told us on Friday.
Yes, and this person actually will work under
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green.
Okay.
So
So the state hires them or we hire them?
They will be a part of the process. They will work for us a percentage of the time, but it will not solely be for Putnam County.
The Region
This
2
person?
differentiated team works with us continuously on our schools. This is part of our plan to improve our school grades. And it was brought to us. This isn't something we thought up. It is something they're going to look at around the state. Sorry.
It's okay. So their check will come from us or from these people?
It will actually come through the grant, so it would be something that we would have the grant dollars and pay for it that way,
Okay.
but it would be 100% out of the grant.
And what, is it called the SIG Cohort 3?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that the
That's how
grant?
we paid for it to start with, and then if we
Okay.
qualify for SIG 4, then that position could continue with SIG 4 dollars.
Yeah, those
They
are the
can't
dollars
promise
that-
us those dollars. We already, the SIG 3 dollars are outside of our current SIG 3 dollars. These are all coming out of Mr. Green's SIG 3 dollars.
Through the state.
So that's a DOE,
Yes, ma'am.
D8, okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's from the Differentiated
many
Accountability
State is
Office.
divided into regions, and each region, each group of school districts, counties in the state have a region they belong to, and they each have a team that works with their schools to help with school improvement. This comes from the State Board of Education.
Great, thanks.
I must not be hearing
Thank
well.
you.
I thought you had all your questions answered prior to me.
Well, you know, we're
I
always
know.
thinking.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, no more discussion. Is that any more discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Aye.
Oh, Miss Cummings, you're so funny. Okay. Agreement on finalizing the purchase of McPherson property adjacent to Middleton Burney
That was interesting.
School. Justification, explanation, time sensitive because we have got to get that wing finished.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so moved?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I will say that I did visit it, and I'm very excited. And one quick thing is that we are not just building, we're also improving the road there along with the substation for the city. So I'm thankful that we're collaborating with the city of Crescent City to keep everything moving forward.
And once again, that wasn't a grant, that was a legislative appropriation. That sometimes I read columns from Mr. Dalzell, and he thinks we don't do that in Putnam County, but that's not necessarily true. So anyway, any more discussion? All right, I need a motion.
I've already made the
All right,
motion.
made a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Right. Out of emergency business and discussion old business, seeing none, I will move on to new business, budget amendments for December 2015. Okay. I'll need we need to advertise, correct, Pam?
What do we do on this?
What do you want to do here?
We had them on the consent agenda, but Kathy had asked that they be brought back out to the discussion agenda. I can get up and talk about them, or y'all can just read them and vote on them.
I've already looked at them, so.
Well, I'd like to may have a motion and let's get this.
Yeah,
on the
okay.
road.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the budget amendments for December 2015.
I'll second
All
that.
right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, we have reports now from the board members and board attorney and superintendent. If you don't mind, I'll start as the board member. I usually ask someone else. I listened to Sandra Fortner earlier, and I go back in time to when they were in the East Palaca campus, and that was at a time when Putnam County's graduation rate was 49.51%. It was dead last in the state of Florida, and we had a problem funding adult ed programs to raise graduation rates in Putnam County. So we wound up discontinuing the agreement and went to Tallahassee and we were sued by two attorneys, one in Tallahassee on behalf of St. Johns County and the other, and there were two attorneys, I'll say that. And we tried to get 100 FTE released to us so we could run our own program. And we were successful and prevailed. At the time, Senator Jim Horn from Orange Park had to pass the Senate Bill 1688, which was called the Level the Playing Field legislation, which took power away from the tech centers. And we started an adult ed program that wound up being nationally recognized and got our graduation rates up in the top tier. And I know the superintendent knows how to do it as well, but once again, it takes money. And I spoke with her the other day, and I know she's going to work very hard on that. There was nothing against First Coast Tech in those days, but we had other issues that were very pressing then, and we straightened that out. And I think we know now how to straighten the rates out again and go higher, but it's just going to take money from another source. And superintendent has a very good plan on that, and I'm sure she'll share it with you at some point in the future. But other than that, I look forward to getting on with the legislative session. I enjoyed Terry Wright very much helping me the other day up there. We certainly, I think, made some progress, and it'll be just incredible if we can receive that money this year and then come back again next year. But it fits in perfectly with the governor's Jobs for Florida's graduate program, so we're getting a lot of support there. But other than that, everything is going well, and I look forward to the groundbreaking. Well, we had the groundbreaking at Middleton Burney the other day, and first time I'd ever seen Terry Wright pick up a shovel, but he didn't know what it was. He stuck the wrong end in the ground, but it was interesting. But that's incredible. That's been a long road, long time coming, and probably over 30 years trying to get those grades reconfigured. So this is a big step, and that concludes my report. Ms. Crawford.
Well, I just have a couple of things I'd like to talk to you about. The first is our school grades, and while there was both good news and bad news about our school grades, I just want to go on record as saying that I know how hard our teachers and our principals in this county work to get our children ready for whatever it is they have to do, whether it's a test, whatever kind of evaluation it is. And it breaks my heart for schools to get these low grades when I know how hard they've worked and everything that they've done, because there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears every year, that these teachers and principals put forth. And, I don't know what it's going to take. I wish there was a magic bullet we could fire in the air and all our schools would be A schools, but I don't know of anybody that works harder than the employees of the Putnam County School District. And then the other thing I want to tell you is I went by myself to Howey in the Hills, Florida, and it was not easy to find for school.
You go south on 19.
Well, no, there's some jigs and there's some jigs and jags in there.
I know it's hard to find your way south on 19, but go ahead. I'm playing. Go ahead.
But anyway, it was school board training concerning policy, governance, and boardsmanship. And I really enjoyed networking with all the school board members from other counties. And I just want you to know that I heard some horror stories while I was down there about relationships of school boards with their superintendents. So while we may not always see eye to eye, I'm very grateful for the relationship that this board has with our superintendent, because there is some awful stuff going on around our state. And I learned a lot that I hope to share with everyone at some point, just not right now,
Okay.
because David's in a hurry to get out of here.
I'm not in a hurry. Don't say that.
You always say that.
No, I'm not going out to eat or anything. It's all great. I picked up my granddaughter and already brought her here, and so it's all good. Are you sure you're through?
Yes, I'm
No
sure.
Steinhatchee stories.
No Steinhatchee stories, not this time.
What's coming?
I was able to also attend the groundbreaking ceremony at Middleton Burney. I'm very excited, and the school is great. The positive atmosphere is really contagious, and I'm thankful to be able to experience that. And all the staff is very excited about the new, just refocusing, restructuring that school is going to be exciting. Also, the foundation meeting. Mr. Pageant has established. He is called it Lift Putnam, which I think is really neat, and it's not just about education. It's meeting all the needs of our challenges of students, and he has a great board, and it was wonderful to see the excitement, the enthusiasm from community members that have volunteered their time and talents and their skill set to help our students. And I'm really excited about the foundation and pursuing any kind of grants I can find and get my hands on so I can lead him along and help him and support him in any way possible. The scores, I sit here and ponder different ideas, and Pastor Eddie mentioned something in his prayer about pouring into the next generation, and how do we do that? And I just keep going back to parent involvement and how students need that support at home, and I wish I knew how to do that. I feel like our students need to be poured into, but if the parents aren't giving their jars, I feel like these little jars, they need to be uncovered so that we can pour into them. And then the student, I feel like parents sometimes are holding their hand over, not letting us pour into them because there's so much lack of involvement, and I am dedicated to that. That's something, parent involvement, I see every day that I don't know how to increase. We have so many schools that do extra and above to try to get parent involvement. I mean, golly, we feed them, we entertain them, we try so hard. We go to their community centers and their neighborhoods and give flyers. We want parents involved. And so I wish I knew the magic solution to that, but I'm not going to quit trying to pour into the next generation. That was a great thing, and I appreciate that. And I have a passion for parent involvement, and I appreciate that the superintendent does too. And anytime I have ideas, I'm like, what if we try this? She's always willing to try to increase that. So thank you. And you're right, Jane. We are very blessed to have the board, and I'm very thankful for that. So that's all.
Could you repeat that a little louder, please? No, I'm kidding. You know, Nikki, it is interesting that you say that, because I didn't know what kind of jar of what you were talking about to pour in. I used to think about hypnotism, just sometimes all the kids with the books and stuff. But you know what? That wouldn't work either, because if you had someone under hypnosis, the liability would be tremendous. So Rocco would frown on that, and so would
You're
Charlie.
getting too close to common
And so
core
would
there.
I, by the way, just for the record.
Right, that was
Just for the
that was
record,
just
We're
a-
not-
for the spirituals, I would
trying
have a
to
problem with this.
Make light of Miss Cummings, what was it called?
Lift
Ball-
Putnam?
you know,
No,
a ball
pouring
jar
into
full
the
of,
next generation.
mason
I
jars.
like that. I'm going to steal that, Pastor Eddie. Pouring into the next generation. That's a great
That is
goal.
really good, Nikki. Okay.
I know it is.
It is. I like
Quit
that.
making fun of it.
Terry,
Yes, sir. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, a couple things, real quickly. First, want to mention something that's just a whole lot of fun. I was home getting ready for my long day today and was flipping through, and who did I see on TV was Linda Cheatham, who is in New York.
Yes.
Who's in
It's
New
so
York with
funny.
Mr. Pignato and about 50 of our kids dancing on Michael and Kelly. Right, and so it said from Palatka, by the way.
won.
And so I was flipping
She
through.
won the
She
dance
won the dance
contest.
contest on Michael and Kelly. So I realized that probably doesn't advance education in Palatka very much. But it's a lot of
For
fun.
one of our schools.
And I sort of think fun's part of life, at least in my world it is. So I hope it is in yours. So so it was great. She did a great job. So just want to say, represented us well. So it's a lot of fun to see that. A little legislative update on some of the bills and ideas the School Board Association is trying to push. I just checked. I'm on the legislative session right now. Source, they have not moved any of them through yet that I can find. But session is still going on, so we're hoping to have some of those bills and ideas advance through, but not as of today. So you could keep looking on that. A couple of things I've been working on over the last few years that are starting to take root, and I think some things we're going to see. A few years ago, some of you remember, ViStar came to us wanting to put a branch on campus at Palatka High, and we, the board at the time, had some questions on that. I helped with that because I think anything we can do to provide practical training for our kids is going to be great. Here's the second thing that I've been working on, and something I hope to bring to you, board and Madam Superintendent, over the next few months. Met with Georgia Pacific, a couple of leaders from Georgia Pacific back at the end of last year, and just threw out a crazy question. What can we do? Do you have anything in your treasure chest over here of ideas that we can do to lift our students, to help them begin to think and process as individuals and to grow? Well, Terry Hadaway, who most of the board knows, said, you know what, we used to have this program about entrepreneurial centers. And I said, that's exactly what we need. So we began a dialogue on entrepreneurial centers. Now, here's the idea. The idea would be to have an entrepreneurial center in all 3 of our high schools. We would have a teacher at each of the high schools, of course, be the sponsor, and students would be trained on how to think, develop, and then implement a business plan of an entrepreneurial business. We did have a conversation the other night at one of our awards meetings, and Terry has come across University of Florida having perhaps some monies for that. So I'm just putting it out there to you to let you know that's something that started dialogue last year, but just so I think the public knows, at the school board level, it's not like just, oh, I have a thought and I can implement it tomorrow. There's a lot of processes, a lot of planning, there's a lot of due diligence that has to be done, and you have to find the funding. And so in the days ahead, I hope to bring you some very positive reports on these entrepreneurial centers being developed and being implemented in all of our high schools, and hopefully that will happen. I did vote to approve the director of curriculum because I think obviously curriculum is important, but I do want to say this just as another thought. The idea is, how do we change the culture of our district? You don't change it with a new curriculum. I'm sorry, teachers, a new curriculum isn't the silver bullet that fixes your problem. If it was, somebody would have already shot that bullet. Are y'all with me? Somebody would have already packaged it, sold it, and made $1 billion. So a new curriculum isn't going to fix it. I've had extensive conversations with the superintendent, with others, about a value-based system versus a functionally based system. Now, that might be a new thought to y'all, but in essence, here's what it is. It's that when we think about what we do as the district, what we do in the classroom, what we do at the school level, it's based upon achieving and realizing values, not checking boxes off as a functional list. Now, you have functions you have to do, but how do you interpret those functions? As simply ends within themselves, or as representative of a larger, more binding and driving and motivating reality, which would be a value? For example, let's just say we value excellence. All right, let's just say that would happen to be a value. So everything that we did, we measured against that value. We didn't measure it just to get the box checked today. We would measure that against the values. I believe if we're going to have a cultural change within our district, we have to begin talking about a value-driven district. Now, this is not universally done, all right, in school districts across the country. But the ones that are successful do it. Arguably, one of the most highly successful districts in our state is St. Johns County. I can tell you Dr. Joyner's value. You want to know what it is? Servant leadership. If you're hired by him, you will do that or you don't get hired. If you work for him, you will do it or you don't get to stay. If your attitude doesn't reflect it, you get to find another job. You see how serious that is? It's a value. It's not that you come to work and check the boxes. The Lord knows Tallahassee is going to find more boxes for us to check. Are you with me? But why do you do it? And if it's not intentionally stated, intentionally championed, intentionally pushed, intentionally processed, if it's not an intentional journey, it's not real. So, in the days ahead, we'll be talking a little bit about that. And I want to thank everybody who's helped me in my research and in my looking at this. And Madam Superintendent, thank you, your staff, Laura, Helen, everybody out there. I've talked to Rick, I've talked to Debbie, I've talked to all you guys. Thank you for spending time with me and helping me process this. I'm not pushing an agenda because this isn't really mine to push. It would have to come from the superintendent. But as a board member, it is my responsibility to raise questions and to offer alternative solutions. And so value-based, listen, it works everywhere in the world that it's tried. Every business that turns to a value-based management structure as opposed to a functionally based structure excels. Every one. not an exception, if it's done well. I can't believe that it wouldn't work equally as well within the school districts. So, just something to think about. If you'd like to talk about it, call me. I've been reading and looking at this. It's part of what I do for a living as well. And so, it's just been exciting. And Madam Secretary, I want to thank you. I want to thank your team for allowing me to come in and gab. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Brother Wright. I appreciate that, and I think I've known Joe Joyner for a lot of years. I think he'd be much more intrigued about the little jar that you open up and pour on.
Hush, Buckles.
That was good. Anyway, let's move on to the board attorney.
Things are going well. I must thank Rocco and Ed for the pushing through of the deed of the McPherson property in South Putnam. I know it was an issue of timely importance, and we're grateful for the cooperation of the attorney up north who is assisting us as well. Rocco, the weekend before last, attended the Florida School Board Association attorneys meeting, and if you would indulge just for a couple minutes, he would like to relay some highlights.
Absolutely.
So the meeting was the 5th and 6th in Orlando. This is done every quarter. The next one will be in June. These school board attorneys come from all over the state. There were probably about 35 or 40 attorneys there, which if there's 35 or 40 attorneys in the room, you usually want to avoid it, but this is the one time that I don't mind going. Yeah, amen to that. So this is just a wonderful opportunity for us to see issues before they hit us, because we have attorneys that are coming from South and Central Florida where the districts are a little bit larger, and so they face more legal issues. And so we've taken an opportunity to reach out and get to know as many of them as we can. The two presentations that were done on the 5th included intellectual property and ESE issues. The intellectual property dealt with the pretty much copyright or trademark issues related to mascots for different school districts. And so that's an issue that I looked into a little bit. I don't think that we're facing too much of that right now, but in South Florida, again, they have different companies that are taking the mascots of high schools and then selling sweatshirts or shirts like that. And then the ESE issues, there was a very lengthy presentation about due process hearings and some of the issues that are being faced by other districts. Again, we are very fortunate. We do not face many of these issues, and so we're doing well. We're doing very well. And so the next one will be in St. Augustine in June, and so it's a little bit closer of a ride for us. So I intend, and I'm sure Charlie intends on attending as well. So,
Rocco, question on intellectual property. Did you guys discuss hypothetically if a teacher came up with something that was perhaps patentable or trademarkable, if the district owns that or if they own that? Did you get into that?
a little bit, actually. It depends on the status of the employee. So if the employee or if they are an employee, so if they're doing it as part of their job, depending, it's always fact sensitive, but
Right.
if they're doing it as part of their job, it's typically owned by the district. However, if it was in a volunteer capacity, that may change the status. It just depends on kind of a factual analysis.
Okay.
The NEFAC board used to have a caveat that any intellectual properties developed at the consortium would be subject to ownership of NEFAC. So they did a lot of research out there, but anyway, I don't know if they still do that or not.
But they're a for-profit agency,
Yeah.
and we are not.
I know.
So.
Right, yeah, I was just concerned about the law aspect of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Rocco.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Superintendent.
So if I invent a purple dinosaur that makes millions, I have to share it with you?
Yes,
Yeah,
you do.
yeah, but I wouldn't say all of it because we're a charitable lot, but at least some of it.
Get a mason jar of stuff for him.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, I still call it Regis and Kathy Lee. But
I almost
guess
said it
it's
6
Michael
times.
and whoever now.
Michael and Kelly.
But that Linda Cheatham and Jim Pignotta were there, and they were presenting Palatka and Putnam County in a positive light is really exciting. We got
Lot of fun.
press
Jenny and
there.
Todd.
all
Lot of
them.
fun.
They were all there, yes, and that was really exciting.
Did you see it,
How
Jane?
often do you get national exposure? So that was really neat. And I do want to say Joe Joyner is a well-respected superintendent in the state. In fact, it wasn't long ago that our governor asked him to come and be the lieutenant governor. He declined, but he was asked. That's how highly he's thought of in the state. When I first became superintendent and heard his presentation on servant leadership, I invited him to Putnam County, and all of my principals, assistant principals, and district administrators went, and he did a training for us on servant leadership. So we are very aware of it, and we all try very hard to practice that. We're not as good quite as he is yet. He's been doing it for a lot of years, but he really believes it. Part of that is his faith and his belief in God, which is a huge part of that as well. So it's very interesting and very effectual in St. Johns County. So, if we had a magic bullet, a silver bullet, the whole country would be using it.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're looking at here in Putnam County. Once again, up and down, grades from year to year. There has been a lot of crying teachers in my office and on the phone because, like Ms. Crawford said, the amount of work and time and compassion and professionalism that our teachers put into teaching, and our administrators support that on a daily basis, and you feel good all year long about what you're doing with those children, and then somehow it doesn't translate into the grade. One of the things I told the paper when they called me the other day is that we've been transitioning. We had FCAT, then we had FCAT 2.0, now we have FSA, which is the Florida Standards Assessment, and which with each of those tests, they've gotten progressively more difficult. And this past year, in the testing, so much of it was on computer. And that's a whole nother issue. When you take a paper pencil test, it's one thing, but if you're doing it on computer, and then we had a few issues, not as many as the rest of the state, but we had issues that, as far as I'm concerned, most of those scores are not an accurate reading of what our students know because, first of all, of the online testing, but also because they keep increasing the complexity of the test, and we don't ever have a chance to catch up with what the state has decided our standards should be by grade level and subject area, and what those children should know every year, and where we need to get them. In Putnam County, 80% at least, if not more, of our students are on free and reduced lunch. Free and reduced lunch, in order to get that, you have to be at or below the poverty level income-wise. If you read the research on income, you know that poverty plays a huge role in students' ability to learn and their readiness to learn and what they know when they come to school. And those are issues that our teachers deal with on a daily basis because looking at Putnam County. We love Putnam County. It's a wonderful place to live. We have great people, but many of our people are very poor. Our children don't come with an adequate foundation to build upon. And for most teachers, it's like building a house on sand. You have to go back and teach them so many things that they don't know. And that's really hard when you get them in school when, if you look at St. Johns County, they know it when they get to school. Their 5-year-olds come to school. They know their colors, their letters, their numbers, their shapes. Most of them can read. Most of them can write their name. That's not the case in Putnam County. So you can't compare apples to oranges. And what I want to do is continue to celebrate what our teachers do, continue to support them, and encourage them to keep it up. What they're doing is not lost. It's great effort, and it's making a difference. Is it an A? Is it where we want to be? No. But they have made tremendous strides, and what they're doing with these children that we don't get graded on is the food that they bring and the clothes and the commitment to these children and the time they spend with them that nobody bothers to look at. And we would certainly get an A+ in that. So We also have to look at parent involvement. Certainly in districts where there's high parent involvement, the students do better. Research bears that out. But also along with that, teachers, yes, teachers' responsibility is to teach. Students' responsibility is to learn. And how do you give students a desire to learn? That has to come from home. Parents are definitely the first teacher. And learning isn't always easy. It isn't always fun. It takes some effort. And anything that you do and put effort into is going to be profitable for you. And you get out of something what you put in it. If you put nothing in, you're going to get nothing out. So, Mr. Wright, I think a value-driven anything, particularly in education, the value that we have for education, I think you're exactly right. And I'm hoping you plan to go to Tallahassee and tell our legislators so they'll support it.
Well, Madam Superintendent, very interesting. Let me just say this. Until they change their mindset, is anybody in this room confused that they have dumped billions of dollars in the same frame of mind, the same mindset, and it's not worked in most areas?
No, it hasn't.
And so they have to change sometime.
Well, I've been hoping for a lot of years. This is my 31st year. I don't know. I haven't given up, but I'm still hoping. The Palaca Daily News, I wanted to point out, did an editorial praising you all for the reconfiguration of the schools in Crescent City. And so acquiring that piece of property was essential to the construction that we have to do. So I thank Charlie and Rocco for all their work on that. We're thrilled that we have that piece of property and we can move forward. And like Ms. Cummings said, we'll improve the infrastructure and the driveway and the road and the everything. So that's really wonderful, and I'm looking forward to that. The groundbreaking was wonderful and exciting, and they will now be a K through 5 school next year. Our middle school, our intermediate school, 4, 5, 6, will go back to a true middle school, 6, 7, 8, and our high school will be 9 through 12. 7th and 8th graders never belonged in a high school. That is much too young to put them into that situation. They need to remain children as long as possible, and they need to have an opportunity to learn in a different setting, and I think this is going to help them tremendously. And it was interesting, that very same night, they had Splash into Science at Middleton Burney Elementary, and I went, and the place was packed. I just was thrilled with the parent turnout for that. Tony Lang at the Water Management put that together, and they're doing another one this Thursday night at Interlochen Elementary when they heard about it, and Tony contacted them. And Tony, she is so excited. All of the people that came and put that together are volunteers, and it was tremendous. If you get a chance to go out to Interlochen Elementary, I believe it starts at 5:30 or 6, and they'll be there a couple of hours. It was really tremendous. Also, on Saturday, I do want to mention the FFA. Putnam County FFA is having a field day at Triangle Park, and they've got all kinds of things going on from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and all the proceeds are going to benefit Brian Barfield and his family. And it's for a good cause, so if you get an opportunity, then that is really wonderful that the kids and the adults are doing this. It's, again, community service. It, again, talks about the people of Putnam County and how much they care. And the last thing I'll tell you is I hadn't been sick in a long time, nor has Helen Muir. And I made the mistake last week of giving her a hard time about her throat and sounding sick when she hadn't been sick in years. And now I have it. So don't make fun of somebody who's sick, because you'll get it. And thank you. That's all I have.
Welcome to rest it if you'd like.
I will rest now.
Okay.
The bench rests.
All right, that moves us on to
We're done.
the end of the children's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We got the Children's Reading Center School financial statement for November, December 2015.
Those are reports that you receive, of course. One thing I wanted to mention, Rhonda had sent an email out to you. I think you all saw her email. At this time, I would ask if, just based on what you've seen in the paper for about 3 straight days, if you are interested at all in us having a workshop where maybe we invite the accountant for EDGE and maybe their representatives to come, because although it is a charter school and we don't run their school, we are responsible, first of all, in human resources for making sure their teachers are certified by the state, and you as a board are responsible to observe their finances and determine if they're solvent or not. And there is some concern there, and I know some of you have gotten some calls and had some concern. So if you are interested, I will have Rhonda call the accountant and also their director and see about a time and a day that they could meet and give you all an explanation. I would not want us to fail to be on top of our duties where charter schools are concerned.
Well, if you would so direct Ms. Odom, we would appreciate that very much.
Ms. Odom, so directed.
All right, so we've
As soon as possible.
We've received the Children's Reading Center financial statement, the EDGE financial statement, and Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences, and that leaves us with the adjournment, and I'm gonna go look for a jar of that stuff, Ms. Gunn.
You've got an executive.
And then executive
All
session
right,
in
we're
what,
going
5
into
minutes?
executive.